channel. So today I want to discuss some really important changes being proposed under legislation by this Labour government, and it really is an enormous attack on democracy, and it's an attack on democracy that you're very rarely going to hear talked about by the mainstream media, and it's because it's at local level. Whenever governments, usually Labour governments, attack democracy, they do it at local level because it gets less attention than Parliament. And let's be honest, 99% of the things that matter to you on a day-to-day basis are probably run by your councils, or at least commissioned by them. And councils are supposed to be run by local councillors. So the Labour government is announcing new powers to local authorities to actually strike off councillors. That means that unelected civil servants will be given the power to suspend councillors for at least 6 months without pay. So let's look at why this is so bad. Well, a council is supposed to be run by councillors, not civil servants. And the reason that is because you, the people watching this, have elected those councillors to oversee the council, meaning that you are the real boss. The councillors work for you, the civil servants work for the councillors. But over the last 25 years, and this started under Tony Blair in the year 2000, councillors have been being stripped back of the powers, and more powers are being given to unanswerable civil servants who, let's be honest, most of them are trained under common purpose. It's all about keeping the same agenda going forward and not having elected officials coming out of nowhere and changing that common purpose that these people have. Now, back before 2010, under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown's government, if a councillor had a complaint brought to him by the civil servants, it would have to go to a judge, and only a judge could bring discipline upon them councillors. Well, in 2010, when the Tories got elected, they realised that this was, one, a massive problem to democracy, and two, it was costing millions and millions of pounds, having corrupt councillors trying to use these judges to get rid of outspoken councillors, because that's what this is all about. It's about councillors and not being under the control of these civil servants and speaking out about corruption. They can't have that. And then especially putting it on social media, allowing residents to find out. So the Tories scrapped it all together and said that councillors could not be suspended unless, one, they resigned, they didn't go to a meeting for more than 6 months, or they went to prison. And that was adequate powers in place. Remember, if they did anything illegal, the police would be brought in anyway. Well, civil servants didn't like this. They had no more power or blackmail over elected councillors, especially opposition councillors like myself, who's an independent here in Wigan, or UKIP, or even some Lib Dems and Green Party councillors. Anybody who wasn't part of the establishment, or at least under the control of the establishment that ran that council, usually the Labour Party or the Conservative Party. So what they couldn't do anymore was, if you're asking a lot of questions, they couldn't put a complaint in and try and get you struck off. Well, for many years now, the Labour-run councils have been writing to the government, begging them, urging them, including the Local Government Association, a body of civil servants which is supposed to be there to support councillors, have been begging for new powers to be given to councils, not anymore to be able to take a councillor to a judge, but instead give the civil servants the direct power to be judge and jury and actually suspend elected councillors who you've elected, to suspend them without any payment for 6 months at a time, meaning they can't vote, they can't get involved, which ultimately makes them unelectable. Well, Keir Starmer has come to the rescue, because it was announced yesterday that them exact plans that they've been asking for will be coming into place soon. Civil servants will be allowed to hold their own kangaroo courts and suspend councillors for 6 months. If they suspend you twice within 5 years, you will be struck off altogether. Now, the reason this is so damaging to democracy is, as I mentioned before, you elect councillors. Okay, the majority of them might not do people's will, but you've always got that maybe even only 10% chance you can get rid of that person or get somebody else into power. Now, why else would the government bring these changes in? And it's because they know thousands and thousands of Reform UK councillors are going to be getting elected. Councils are going to be being took over by Reform UK, and these civil servants are going to be being investigated for corruption. So now they need some power back to be able to stop that happening. So what you will see, and this is what we've seen for years and years, is bogus complaints coming in by civil servants, but now they'll have the power to do something about it. It will be like a noose around the neck of most councillors. For anybody who watches this channel that knows who I am in Wigan, it won't be to me. I will always say exactly what I want to say, but most councillors will be intimidated by these changes, especially if they start seeing the colleagues struck off. Now, another big change that's coming in this law, and again, something they've been begging for years, is to stop councillors who are unruly into entering council buildings, meaning your elected councillor won't be able to walk into the town hall to speak to a civil servant who's ignoring him on an email when that councillor's trying to get something done for the real boss, which is you. Now, for many, many years, some councils, always Labour-run councils again, have already put measures in place to stop councillors coming in. What they'll do, they'll make a nice fancy room upstairs for the Labour cabinet, so they have access to the civil servants, but they've stopped letting councillors in with the backing of the cabinet, passing it through council so it becomes policy. So councillors can't just simply find the civil servants, ask them why they're not answering their email, ask them can they look into an inquiry, and trying to get everything done digitally. Well, now they'll be able to simply ban people totally legally, because that will be the new legislation. Now, the worry is that Reform UK probably won't be in power by the time this new law comes into place, which means that more and more powers are going to be took away from your elected officials. And if you're someone like me, although I'm an independent councillor, I'm going to be voting for Reform UK in any election that I'm not personally in myself, you are going to basically find that your councillor is powerless, if they wasn't already, even more so now. So when they want to ask a question, they want to get an inquiry done for you, which is complicated, or it may even have corruption involved in it, these civil servants will try to blow them off, and if they push and push and push, guess what will happen? A new complaint will come in. Now, the last thing and the last change which is coming into effect is, I mentioned earlier that before the Tories scrapped the laws, under Labour you went in front of a judge. Well, now you won't even be able to appeal the decision and go to a High Court judge instead. So you may well know that if any government body makes a decision that you're not happy with, you have the right to a judicial review, something that I've done in the past against corruption within Wigan Council, which I won, and I was able to do that because the law allowed me to. Well, now with the change in law, they're saying that the local authority will have its own review board that you would have to go to first, meaning that by the time they've dealt with it and you've even had a chance to go to a judicial review, the 6 month would have been up. A councillor who can't act for his residents for 6 months might as well be struck off, because like I said, they're not going to win their election. Now, if this video feels like personal grievance as a councillor, it is a little bit, because to me, the most important thing is democracy, where you have got to be able to get the information you need from the person that you elected. If you take that away, it's not about the individual councillor, it's about you, the resident, having that power. There is less democracy in councils than there is in Parliament. In Parliament, if an MP brings a motion forward and 51% of MPs vote on that, I know this doesn't happen, but theoretically that would become new law. Do you actually know that in councils, if a councillor brings up a motion, which wouldn't become law but it become council policy, it only gets referred to the Cabinet to review it. The Cabinet is made up of the party that has the most councillors. Councils have even started restricting meetings to once every 2 months and only allowing 5 motions going off proportional representation, meaning that opposition groups quite often aren't even allowed to put a motion in. So if democracy at local level wasn't bad enough with councils stopping councillors entering buildings, not being able to put questions and motions in, this will absolutely finish it off. Let's just hope that this gets the media presence that it needs and shows some backlash against councils. Or let's hope that the Labour government, which let's be honest is pretty useless, doesn't get this in place before the next general election. Because I can guarantee one thing, and another reason to vote Reform UK, this is something that they would never support. But please let me know what you think about these changes coming into effect soon. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.